Good day, podcast community. We have a special podcast for you. So, if you're in our audience and you're a lady and you're in business, you want to drop everything and listen to this podcast because you're going to get a whole bunch of value that you never expected. So, this lady here has a farm. Yes, a farm. and and I'm telling you, kids love the farm. I'm not the farm, ranch, excuse me. So, Zanna,
Well, one or the other, right? It's all
yeah, it's
interchangeable to
like
an extent.
animals. Yeah, you have
Yeah,
animals. So tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
absolutely. First and foremost, I'm so grateful to be here today. My name is Zanna Wolfgang, and I am the owner of what has evolved to be Thrive Ranch Company. I have a small ranch out in Brooks, Georgia, and it started as a total hobby passion of mine in Montana, and it has evolved. We actually moved our whole gang, all the animals, from Montana to Georgia last summer, mostly because I felt called that this is where I'm supposed to do what I'm doing, and that is impacting lives, sharing what I love. And I just know that the power of the animals that we have is so healing and so inspiring. It actually gets people out in nature, back in touch with that, which I think we've lost so much of as a society. And just for me, being with these animals and inviting others to come and experience that, it's bigger than just the animals. It's just truly about taking a moment to breathe a little bit and fill your bucket, as I like to say, because we have a lot of buckets around here, and consider what's possible. And so for me, my dream that I've turned into reality is this ranch. But for you, I don't know what your dreams are, but being out here is about considering what your dreams are and knowing that you can follow your heart and make them reality as well.
Yeah, that's so good. Each time I hear that and I understand it because I've seen you in action with the animals, with kids, and I talk with my kids who went to McKenna Farms when I first met you. And
Yeah.
I know the joy watching them connect with animals, being outdoors. So just for our viewers, like, how did you come up with this? This is crazy. Like, what were you like? Woke up in the middle of the night and said, "Hey, look, I'm going to have a ranch." What was it like? How did that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly was not a plan. If you would have asked me 5 years ago, if this is where I would be and what I would be doing, I would have not even fathomed it. And it really started with buying a beautiful property in Montana with quite a bit of land and deciding, well, let's get some goats. It started with goats. What I will tell any husband out there listening is if you let your wife get goats, you're saying yes to a whole lot more, because that's how it all began. And I like to joke that I don't know about some of the best marriage therapy is just letting your wife follow her crazy and buy all
Yeah.
these animals and have a place to put the love. But that said, so I never would have imagined that this is where I would be. And I think that's part of the beauty of it is I think when I was younger, I thought it was all about checking the next box and doing the thing and arriving where you're supposed to arrive, whatever that is. And kind of through my journey, as we arrived in those spaces, individually and as a couple, for my husband and I, there was always something more to attain. And so getting these animals just brought me such joy, and I would invite people out to experience them. So yes, it started with goats. We now have miniature Highland cows, alpacas, cooney pigs. We just added the cutest little Valais black-nosed sheep. Oh, they are just precious. And goats and chickens and ducks and you name it. So that said, they bring so much joy. And I have witnessed the interaction of not just myself in that experience, but other people coming out and seeing them just have a peace come over them. And I realized, this is more than a hobby, it's a gift to share. And it's just evolved. And now it's a space that I want to create experiences and invite folks out to come and just fill their bucket, like I said, and consider what's possible. And I have some really fun activities around that, from grounding to breath work to just being with the animals.
Mhm.
Um, and here we are today. I just got my little pop-up horse trailer that I'm so excited about, where we'll be showing up at places. We're going to be doing a kissing booth for Valentine's Day with our Highland cows. And again, just the ripple effect of joy.
Yeah. I listened to a podcast. I don't remember the gentleman, but he was a professor on like happiness. And so one of the things he was sharing with the audience is the decline of happiness in America. We are part of so many conveniences, meaning
Yes.
that iPhone that we have is a supercomputer and it's a
Mhm.
two-edged sword. And I'll go into restaurants and because I don't I'm not on social media anymore. I don't scroll. I don't have TV. I've eliminated a lot of those distractions. I don't drink. Not that I drank that much, but I don't drink.
Sure.
And so I realize that when you start of eliminating distractions in your life and you focus on people and you focus on conversations, you focus on the moment, being present. Tell me like what did that part of journey when you just started getting those goats? Like was it an evolution of seeing how it was changing you as a person? Did you just all of
Yeah,
a sudden, like
it
what how did
really
that
was. And it was an evolution of so much. It's multifaceted for sure. Um, but it was, again, getting outside every day, right? When you take on a responsibility like that, and mind you, up until this last year, I lived in Montana. And so it doesn't matter if it's negative 30 degrees. I needed to be outside on a daily basis. And so kind of that purpose of having a reason to get outside no matter what the elements are, whatever it was, that in itself was kind of a game changer in life because who wants to go outside in negative 30 degrees, right? But every time I got out there, I was so grateful to be there, and I wouldn't have otherwise been out there and just feeling the brisk air on my skin and looking at the beauty around me and the things that I got to witness just by having the purpose of having to take care of these little souls, um, was just really special to me. And it kind of just ignited something in me
Mhm.
and made me want to grow that feeling for myself and create a way to do more of what I love and share more of what I love, because I think we need more things as a society, that help us stop and just be. And this is very much that for me and those that come and experience it. And I think there's so much value in getting uncomfortable. And clearly, getting out in the elements like that is not always comfortable. And then on a
Mhm.
whole nother level, for some of the folks that come here, they're not used to being around these kind of animals and the poop. Like, I had the cutest little girls here last week and they're like, there's so much poop. And yeah, there's so much poop that comes with a ranch. And but the beauty of that, there's life lessons here every day, and one of them is, poop happens, a whole lot of it, literally and metaphorically, right? And how do we navigate that, and what do we turn it into? We can complain and we can be disgusted, or we can turn that into fertilizer and grow from that, right? There's so much to be learned here every day if you stop and just observe. So simple but so powerful.
Yeah, they do say like grounding yourself, just
Mm.
walking outdoors barefoot and just putting yourself
Yeah.
grounded in nature, what it does. What this is a little bit off topic, and we talked just for a few minutes before we came on the air. So trauma always has a two, like a fork. You can go
Yep.
one way or you can grow. So, did you have any trauma that kind of puts you in a position right now where you're connected to your animals, where you're enjoying it? You can just sense the joy that you have. Was there anything that happened in your life that kind of put you on this course?
Yes. I think they say what big T, little t, everyone's got some element of trauma in their lives, and it definitely can drive the way that we interact with the world. And I am no exception to that. And had some very, not very, because that's all relative, right? There's people who
Yeah.
have experienced far more challenging things than I have, but things that were very challenging to me and caused a lot of trauma. And um, what I can say today is that my most broken moments are also, and when I say moments, my most broken years are also some of the best years of my life today when I look back on the trajectory that those times had on my life and what I discovered about myself in that time. And I love how you referred to the PTSG, post traumatic growth, before we were talking beforehand. And that's so true. In the trauma that I'm referring to right now, though it was, ground shaking for me, it also shook me alive. And I did choose to grow through that pain. And it did lead to where I am today and learning to embrace adversity and uncertainty, and knowing that when for lack of better words, the metaphorical stuff, right? When the poop happens in life, um, that there is something good in all of it if we choose to, and there's value in all of it. And so, yes, in those broken moments, I discovered one, life is too short not to be pursuing what makes you feel alive. At least, we're not, for me, thriving. I want to clarify, it's not happy, happy, joy, joy all day, every day. I mean, we're all human. We all have our moments, but it's about living on purpose and finding joy in every day and finding the lessons. I say the magic and the messy from the things, that do break us sometimes, and allowing ourselves to fall down and feel what we need to feel. But then choosing not to stay there, right? That's where we take our power back. And I'm really passionate about what I call so what, now what? And that is exactly kind of what I just talked about. When you get knocked down, our power lies in getting back up. And doesn't mean we're not a victim of whatever circumstance knocked us down, but we can either choose to continue to give our power to whatever victimized us in the first place,
Mm-hmm.
or we can take our power back by standing back up and learning and growing and being better for where we've been, and not letting that dictate our lives in any way other than post-traumatic growth, right? And so I do feel like the time I get to spend here shoveling poop metaphorically and not so not and literally, right? Is so valuable. It's so therapeutic, and so there's so many layers of the experience out here that's so much bigger, like I said, than just the animals. And when I got them, was I getting them because I was trying to heal something? Absolutely not. I don't even think I knew there was something that needed healing. That
Mm-hmm.
said, it has been so healing in so many ways, and to witness it be healing for others. And that's the beauty of trauma too, right? Is when you can take your trauma and your life lessons and share that with someone else, and help them walk through their own challenges. It
Mm-hmm.
gives it so much purpose. And again, that's not necessarily what all this is about, but it all evolved because of where I began with all of that.
Well, that's awesome. What would you, just for our viewers, so the time frame of starting the ranch to today, how many years have transpired?
Yeah. So there's kind of a fun backstory about that. Like I said, it was 2019 when we moved out to the property that we had, where we ended up getting the goats in Montana. Um, Definitely never saw us leaving there. It was a dream come true. But life is ever evolving and just open to possibilities, which is what brought us here. But that said, so that was 2019 with the goats. And then there was this little farm in northern Montana that I happened upon that had the kuni pigs. Anyway, I just started falling in love with these cute faces and realized they were things I wanted to add to our lives. And my husband was supportive enough to let me traipse all over. I've had cows and goats and pigs and alpacas all in the back of my Suburban at times. And I've traipsed from Nebraska. I just traipsed to Pennsylvania to get our 2 new sheep and brought them back in a vehicle. Anyway, so it's just been this evolution. And I started calling it the funny farm because it really was. It was never intended to be a business. It was never intended to be anything more than, some fun in our backyard. And as it evolved, I kind of gave it the name of the funny farm because we have such a menagerie of things. And then when we started getting into the Highland cows, they're a lot more of an investment. And so I talked with my husband and I'm like, well, if I'm going to go down this road, I need to maybe consider breeding them eventually to justify the investment sort of
Yep.
thing. And so then I was like, okay, well, I probably need to have some sort of name that's more than the funny farm, right? If people are going to take me seriously. And
Mhm.
so on our way back from Nebraska with our first miniature cows, he and I brainstormed and came up with Thrive Farm Company was the name that we named our little funny farm.
Mhm.
And thrive for me has been a very powerful word. And I actually have it tattooed on me because I want to be thriving in life and I want to consciously be choosing things that allow me to do that and support others in doing the same. So it made perfect sense to call it Thrive Farm Company. That said, last year when I decided this was going to be something bigger than I ever imagined, and I started adding some fun apparel and knew I wanted to create experiences, I figured, I better take the step of actually creating an LLC and getting my brand trademarked because my vision was growing with it, right? I was just
Mhm.
no longer a little farm in Montana that no one was ever going to know about. And so through that trademark process, I got pushback from another company that is called Thrive Farmers. I was Thrive Farm Company. They were Thrive Farmers, and they're a coffee company. And so they kind of reached out saying, basically, we're gonna push back on your trademark because it's too close to ours, which was understandable. I didn't know it at the time. I've learned so much through that journey as well, and I had to pivot, which I'm grateful for. Because at first, when that presented, I thought, oh, this will be no big deal. They're a coffee company, they're a huge company. I'm just a little farm and not even related or a competitive kind of business. That said, I now understand business doesn't work that way. And so I did have to rebrand, and I had the opportunity to visit with the company. And I'm so grateful for that too, because when I was told that by my attorney that, hey, you will likely have to rebrand, I was really heartbroken because I was very invested in the name. And I thought, I accept that I may have to rebrand, but if I do, I'm not going to just not try. So I did what I had to do and found the company and reached out to the CEO enough that they finally responded to me. And because I thought I need to share my heart with them and maybe there's a compromise that can be made. That said, at the end of the day, now understanding how business works, because they're so similar, it could have driven their business to my site, and that's just business is business, and that wasn't okay.
Mhm.
So in it, I decided to rebrand to Thrive Ranch Company, which turned out to be a blessing. And I knew that. I knew when I set out, I was pretty certain I wasn't going to have to rebrand because I believed in it so much. But life taught me that lesson. But I also knew that I was going to be being guided. And if I was supposed to rebrand, that's what I was going to do. So as it all evolved, and I was actually talking with someone from their company, I said, "What about Thrive Ranch?" And and that's how it evolved from there. And as I was doing all the rebranding, this is the fun fact. I'm rambling, I know, but the fun fact about all of it is when I was doing the rebranding on our website, I saw Thrive Ranch next to each other and saw the word Thriver in it. And I've done Thriver Tribe retreats, and I call all of our followers our Thriver Tribe. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is what it was supposed to be all along. So I have evolved from what began as Farm to Thrive Ranch, and I wholeheartedly believe it was supposed to be all along.
I love that story. I mean, we take pivots, we take detours and different things, and we think it's this is terrible, but then it turns out to be a blessing when
Sure.
the other side of it. What do you think? Because I know you have two boys.
Yeah,
So from 2019, what do you think has changed in their perception of mom versus before 2019? Because obviously the ranch has changed. This journey has changed you. But what do you think in their eyes? I know they're not here, so we can't have
sure.
them speak on your on that question. But what do you think?
Gosh, I don't know. That's a really hard question off the top of my head. I know that they respect myself and my husband immensely, and I'm so grateful. But I think they're inventing themselves right now too. They're out in the world at 18 and 20 and pursuing their dreams, and they're more entrepreneurial as well. And I think
Mhm.
what is really awesome about that is they've witnessed us take myself and my husband in different ways and together take some huge leaps of faith in our life
Mhm.
and believing we can there's no reason we can't do anything, right? And so I think that is something that they would say about us and me, particularly since you're asking about me specifically, is just I tend to be very positive, find the silver lining in everything. When I get knocked down, I'm going to get back up again. I have a warrior spirit, as do they, as does my husband, and it shows up in very different ways as a
Yeah.
woman than I think it does, for them as men. But I think they would say, "Don't mess with me," because even though I'm really, really nice, um, I can hold my own and I can make things happen, and I'm pretty
Yeah.
unstoppable. They're my biggest fans for sure. My
Yeah.
husband and my boyfriend are my biggest fans.
Oh, that's so good. What would you did anything when you were younger prepare you for this, or is it just did it just kind of happen through the last few years, or was there anything you could say, man, when I was a little girl, I was doing this, I was, was there anything that you can connect back growing up?
Yeah. So, I mean, gosh, life is ever preparing you for where you're at, right? So, I think every part of my journey, the good, the bad, the hard, has prepared me for this. But would I have ever saw this being my path? Definitely not. In fact, it's funny. I joke with my sister because she was such an animal lover, far more than me as a kid. So, I would have, if I would have foreseen one of us having a Thrive Ranch, I would have thought it would be her. And I think what has prepared me for it, though I didn't know it at the time, is just patient confidence. I stay cool, I stay calm. The animals feel that, right? And so um, I think that's how I navigate life. And it has really, and life's challenges have allowed me to harness that calm confidence, and it serves me really well dealing with these animals on a daily basis. And there's so much I have learned and will continue to learn and evolve, and these little souls I'm responsible for their lives. And it's so funny because I'm the oldest of 6 kids, so having kids, I didn't question anything. I just did what I did, and I wasn't the mom that called the doctor for every little thing. We hardly went to the doctor, and but with these animals, they can't communicate with me. So I am calling the vet all the time for this or that. And oh my gosh, I just want to make sure that they are thriving and nothing I do jeopardizes that. So it's really interesting how, concerned I get more so than my poor kids. I'm like, oh, you're fine. It's a cold, you'll be fine. But a little bit different with this. But I'm ever learning so much, even just bringing in these new sheep, keeping them away from the other animals until we could get their fecal matter tested, and just things that never in a million years would have occurred to me that I'm learning as I go. And it's so fun, just being out of my comfort zone and evolving and watching them evolve as well. And yeah.
Do you feel like, because I hear I hear stories because my daughter, they breed a particular type of dog. And,
Yeah.
so she will be telling me all these stories, and I'm fascinated by. things that you have no earthly idea. And her friend was telling her, so she was sharing with her friend the other day something, and the friend said, "What you did? What they do? What?" You know, it's
Yeah,
kind of a discovery when you're in that kind of world that you had
sure.
no idea. And I know her relationship with her vet is like a family doctor because you're there
Yes.
so much and you're having things come up that you have no earthly idea. And unless you are trained as a veterinarian, you're just it's always a discovery of something
Yes.
new. I think is really important anyway because we want to learn, we want to grow. What would you say? Like, do you journal or do you do anything to like reflect on the day, or how do you kind of connect with the lessons that you learn, at the farm
Yeah.
or at the ranch?
Lessons in general, and obviously so much of that includes my day to day here. Of course, everything is tied back to that these days. But yes, I do journal, and I start my day. I start my day journaling because by the time the end of the day comes, if I sit down, I'm going down.
Right.
So that said, I start my mornings bright and early, and typically take a little time for myself. I don't know if you're familiar with the miracle morning kind of concept, but I
Oh yeah.
incorporate, yeah, I incorporate
Hal
just,
Elrod? Are you talking about Hal El? I think,
yes, how
yeah.
Elrod, exactly. So I start my day with some prayer and breath work or meditation, and then some journaling and some reflecting. And I just I mostly what I journal about is what I'm grateful for, because
Hmm.
I wholeheartedly believe, the more we focus on what there is to be grateful for, the more that shows up. And particularly if I'm in a funk, then that is the time more, even though it's harder, especially that's when I need to stop and journal about what I'm grateful for. But in that, I journal about whatever comes to my mind or heart as well. And gosh knows there are so many life lessons here at the Funny Farm. And I do have a social media following, which I do have a, mixed feeling about social media because, like we were talking about, it kind of can suck people away from those personal connections, but there can be beauty in it too. And it's about the
Yep.
balance of it,
Yep.
right? And
I
so
totally
I
agree.
do share, yeah, I do share life lessons from the Funny Farm daily, or just fun, or what's on my heart. Um, because gosh, I know it brings so much joy to people, and I know not everyone can be here on a daily basis. And so I do share that there. But often when I'm considering what I'm going to share, there's a lot of reflection just in that as well. About the lessons that I'm learning here, just right down to, for example, um, we've got one of our alpacas and our pup Lucy. They kind of have this standoff all the time, and the alpaca used to get scared of Lucy, and Lucy thought it was the most fun thing because he was so dramatic, and so it was just this perpetual thing. Well, one day the alpaca turned around and chased Lucy. Well, Lucy's the biggest wimp there ever was, so she ran off and cowered down, and now she's scared, and now the alpaca has fun chasing Lucy every day. Point is, one of the many lessons here is just, when you're dealing with Lucy's not really a bully, but she comes off as one in this scenario, right, to this alpaca, you just got to turn around and face them, and then they back down. And so, I mean, that's just one of many things I observe, around here, is things like that. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I like what you said, the social media balance. And I think I heard somebody share the idea of consuming TV content that's versus creating. You're creating in your world because you have to you're the whole all your animals, you're creating their environment, you're always creating. So I think when you look at social media, if you're always consuming stuff, which is a lot of times we scroll, the number is between a half hour and 90 minutes a day, and the average
Gosh,
American watches 4 hours of TV a day. So if you take that 4 hours and you went outside and connected like you're doing with animals, but just being out and doing something, creating something, it just changes your whole disposition. It changes everything when you start
yes.
creating. you're creating a ranch. You're creating experience. You're creating that magical connection of kids with animals that they never get to see those animals. I mean, I know when my granddaughters were going around when we were in that I guess barn, is like all the
Mhm.
different types that were in there. They had never really had any connection to those types. You know,
Right.
the small, what'd you call the cows, the little ones?
The Highland cows, the
Highland
mini
cow.
Highland.
They thought
Yes.
those were cool. And then the paca. I mean, my oldest
Yeah.
just, she wanted to take that paca home.
Oh,
And then I would saw one. You weren't there. You had gone, I think, to lunch or something. We came back with the others, and there was this one boy. He was grabbing one of the chickens, and he was just running with it because you
oh,
just
he
never get
loves the chicken. I
to do
think I
that.
know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like so cute to see. He was like he grabbed him like he would grab a loaf of bread. He's
Yeah.
running. It was
And they were
hilarious.
all such good sports about it too, the
Yeah,
animals.
yeah. So what do you think? So our community is really a giving community. So what are you working on that they can help you with? Do you have anything that you would want to put out to our community that they could help you with, or that you're working on that it's a pretty large vision,
Yeah.
goal, whatever that we can support you on?
Well, I love and appreciate that. And I hope I can support your community as well. And one thing I want to circle back to for your community is it's not just the kids. That's also one of the beautiful things about spending time out here is it allows us adults to get in that childlike space of wonder again being out
Mhm,
here. We have some swings up in the barn, and um, it's interesting. The adults love that experience. It's like they get to just be carefree for a minute. So it's
mhm,
both. It's everyone. It gives that childlike carefree experience to young and old alike, which I love. And as far as what the community could do for me, I am really excited to be creating Revive Days here at the ranch for team building and or families or whatever that looks like. We can tailor make that to each
mhm,
specific group. So if there's a team out there or a family out there that wants to plan a Revive Day out here, you just let me know. That is one way you can help me build my vision, and hopefully I can help you build your vision actually too. And
mhm,
then I really am trying to grow our social media experience because my hope is to gain enough that I can obtain some sponsorship in that element so I don't have to charge as much for the more hands-on experiences. Or right now I don't charge for them. But the team building, I do look forward to creating some experiences that I will charge for. So that said, just by following our social media, hopefully it would bring you joy and it'll help me build the following I need to maybe obtain the kind of sponsorships that I hope to get to pour back into the ranch.
mhm. Well, that's a good point about the sponsorships, and I'd forgotten about it, but companies are wanting to connect with real experiences because
Mhm.
the team building, obviously, that's a pretty good connector, but people want to put their their dollars behind things that'll make an impact. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, so if anybody's out there, please share this with companies because it would be a really cool experience that you like you said, adults connecting is just as important as kids. I mean, we tend to have those dreams as a little kid, but then we stop dreaming, as we
We
get
do.
older, and we got to dream again. We have to have big dreams. I mean, what's wrong with big dreams? There's nothing. It's just that I had a person and we were talking about her dreams, and I said, well, and she was telling me, and I'm saying, I think you're playing small. And I said, because I see it from different eyes. You see yourself from your own eyes. So there's no possible way you can see who you are. But you got to play big because, hey, I had a friend of mine, he texted me just the other day, and a person that was a year younger, and we went out in high school. Well, she passed away in her sleep, 66
Mhm.
years old. You never know if
Right.
you're going to make it tomorrow. So enjoying having the biggest dreams you possibly can have, making that big impact that you talk about is so important that we don't limit ourselves because we've kind of been maybe we've hit some roadblocks or some things that have we failed at something. I mean, failure is just a lesson, and so
Absolutely.
what this year, like, what are you working on this year right now that you is your top priority?
Yeah, well, I'm hitting the ground running right now. I'm getting out of my own way with as much as I possibly can because gosh knows we can let doubt, creep in and maybe I'm not ready. And the reality is, I'm not ready. I'm never going to be ready for all the things that are on my heart to do. So I'm just doing them and they're going to evolve in a beautiful way and they're going to get better and better all the time. I'm right
Mhm.
out of the chutes. I'm hosting a team in the next couple of weeks, two different teams out here. And I will say what that looks like. Because a business owner might want to know if they're listening, what does it look like to bring my team out there?
Yeah.
And so we have three things that we'll focus on out here. And again, it's all about filling our buckets. But one of them is grounding because it is such a simple thing we can be doing that is so good for us mentally, physically, emotionally. And so we will experience the power of that both on the ranch and do some exercises that one could take beyond a day here at the ranch and implement into their lives, which is going to make them just better individually. But as a byproduct, you're better as a team member too.
Mhm.
So one of the cool ways that we'll be doing grounding out here is just touching our highlands horns. If you have shoes on, if you're connected with the animal who's connected with the ground, you are grounding. And so a fun way I like to let people experience that, particularly with Rowdy, our really big Highland, they regulate their temperature through their horns. So they're warm to the touch. And it's just a really unique feeling and experience, but it is also a way to be grounding. And so we'll do some fun things down at the funny farm, and then we'll come on the other side of the fence of the funny farm where we can observe everyone, but work on some grounding and fun techniques that one could do beyond the ranch. The other element that we focus on is personal accountability. I call these our three superpowers, by the way,
Uh-huh.
um, because grounding is so powerful. Personal accountability is a huge superpower. And so we definitely talk about what that looks like down on the ranch with the animals, because at the end of the day, they're so friendly and wonderful, but they're still animals. And, it's our responsibility to not step in the poop. It's our responsibility to know that Rowdy is the biggest gentle giant there is, but he has huge horns. And so being aware of the space that we're in and being responsible for not getting hit with a horn, right, things like that. And again, he's very gentle, it's just spatial awareness. But so that's what it looks like down at the farm. But then again, we do some really fun exercises on the power of personal accountability, as I kind of alluded to earlier, the so what, now what. And just it's a perspective that if we all take that on in our lives, it is a superpower. And the other superpower that we focus on a day here is gratitude. Again, so simple, but so powerful. And so there's just an opportunity down at the ranch to really just be and consider the moments that you're grateful for and that you're feeling joy, which I have no doubt many will feel joy in many moments down with the animals. But then again, some exercises on the flip side of the day to really consider what we're grateful for and see the power of that. And I can speak to how powerful all of these superpowers are, but particularly the gratitude, since we're on that. In my darkest, hardest moments, when I was on the ground and maybe didn't want to get back up, I just wanted to stay in a ball and cry. When I would take a minute to just consider what I was grateful for and grab a journal and start doing that, it completely shifted my energy, and physically, mentally, and emotionally it did. And then it changed the lens with which I went about my day. And so again, such simple things that we don't implement though, and they're so powerful. And I want to empower everyone who comes here for a day. And by doing that, they're going to live better lives. We're going to have a ripple effect in the world. My commitment is to changing the world one heart at a time. And if I change your heart when you come here, and I know that we've already talked about it, it sounds like your experience with our animals did impact your heart.
Oh yeah.
You're going to take that. You're going to take that out in the world, and you're going to impact other hearts, and it is a ripple effect. So that's like the heart behind what I want to do here. So
That is so good. I love it. So a couple more questions and I'll let you run. Okay, so tell me like what's a typical day look like? Like what time do you start? What do you do? Is it a routine that you go through that each animal gets certain things? Like give our viewers an idea of your routine on a typical day.
absolutely. Well, I start my day at 4:30. So because I know for me, I need downtime before I have enough to pour into everything else that requires pouring into. So I get up, I have that quiet time, I have my coffee, do the miracle morning things that we already discussed. And then I hit the gym, and then I come back and I'm here by 7:30 or 8 to start all the farm chores. And what that looks like is just giving. It's a madhouse. Actually, it's so fun. But they all come running, and everyone's pushing and shoving to get their piece of the bucket of grain. And I love every minute of it. And I give them grain. We give hay. We do fresh water. We collect eggs. I make sure to love on everyone, and by love I mean I at least touch everyone during that time of the day. And one, just to do kind of a head count, and I'm in tune with them. So for instance, this summer we had one that got sick, and if I had been doing that, touch everyone and check everyone, I wouldn't have known he wasn't well. So yeah, I just make sure to engage with each one every day. I talk to them. One might laugh at me because I do talk to them like they're human. I've always got music playing in my pocket. A lot of them have their song. It's funny, they have songs that they respond to. It's really fun to observe
Yeah.
the power of music, even with animals. It's really cool, and they don't mind my terrible singing, so I sing right along, and it's great. I shovel a whole lot of poop every morning and freshen things up, and that is how the morning begins. And then I come in and start my day building the things I'm talking about. But I too, like I'm a big believer in like a reset. If you're sitting at a computer doing things, and as you know, I have a couple different hats that I wear. We have a business called Honor the Brave. And so I'm at a computer a lot during the day as well, creating everything for Thrive Ranch Co. and Honor the Brave. And I'll step outside though and ground. I will take 10 minutes if I feel myself kind of getting in that lull. I will go lay down outside and close my eyes for 10 minutes. And I'm a new woman after that. So I'm the big believer in the power nap, or whatever you want to call it. But again, I love to do that outside when I can, and they all look at me, and it's just great. And then I try to get back down there in the evenings as well. It's not required like it was in Montana, now that we don't have the predators that I used to have, so they don't have to go in the barn at night. They can by choice. Whereas in Montana, I had to put them away every night due to that predator issue. But anyway, I get down there and try to brush everyone. They line up for brushing. They all love to be brushed, and just observe. Again, they all have such unique little characters. From our crazy rooster Earl that is little but mighty and will chase you around, but he's the tiniest thing ever. He's harmless, and just observing all of it. It is a crack up and good for the soul. And obviously, that's the nutshell. There's a whole lot in between around here to make it all work, but animal wise, that's what it looks like.
Oh, that's so good. So tell our viewers, Honor the Brave. Tell our viewers what your involvement is, and what
Sure.
give our viewers an idea of what that is.
Yes, I didn't mean to go there, but since we did, I'm grateful. And what Honor the Brave is something that was born after my husband, who was a law enforcement officer, was injured in the line of duty, ultimately ending his career after several surgeries. And my background had been real estate at the time. And so this was part of the dark season that I refer to, when just the whole ground shook, and he lost his career, he lost his identity, and it shook him and us to the core. And this was a way to kind of stay connected and give back to our first responder and military community with the skill set that I had. And we ended up going nationwide with that in 2017. It started in 2015. 2017, we went nationwide. And so we work with first responders and military all across the country. If they're going to buy or sell a home anywhere, they can come through our program. We have amazing realtor partners across the country who will support them and agree to give up a portion of their commission to allow us to provide what we call Brave benefits. And that is 10% back to the client as a thank you for their service, an additional 5% to a charity that impacts first responders or military in some capacity. And then we have some beautiful handmade wooden flags built by an active duty Marine who builds them all with such heart. We ship them to the clients so they can just have that token of appreciation beyond that transaction. So that's Honor the Brave. And actually, since we brought that up, I have layered into that now that I'm doing Thrive. This was Honor the Brave is specific to military and first responders, but because my heart is just big around charity, I've added the Thrive Impact layer as well, because if you're going to buy or sell and you're not a first responder or military, we already have amazing partners in place. So you can still come through me. I'll align you with one of our realtor partners, and you won't get the Brave benefits that our first responders and military get, but we will still donate that 5% to the charity. And so we get to create a ripple effect, and you're going to be dealing with some amazing support team with our realtor partners.
Ooh, that is awesome. So do they contact you at the number that we were
Yeah.
talking about? I'm going to put that. Okay. So I want to give our viewers, this is how you can get a hold of Zanna, and just tell our viewers, for our listeners that are on Spotify, they're not watching it on video, give our viewers an idea of how they can get a hold of you.
Absolutely. So as he said, you can reach out to me. My phone number is 406-580-5165. It's my Montana number. I'll never change it. It's got a little piece of my heart there. And then you can visit our website at thriveranch.co to learn about anything related to Thrive Ranch, from an experience here to our retail, to the Thrive Impact program I was just speaking to. And then you can also visit Honor the Brave if you're a first responder or military at honorthebrave.com to get more information about that as well.
Oh, that is so good. I have to go. I did forget to ask you this. So Brooks, Georgia, how big is that town? And how did you decide on Brooks?
Yeah, it's teeny tiny, and you're putting me on the spot. I'm not sure, but it's like 500 people. I mean, it's a very tiny population. And one might wonder, like you,
so
what
you
in
are
the
in a
heck?
big ranch in Brooks.
Yes. And so, that's kind of a fun fact. And speaking to just thriving and trusting and intuition, last year, almost a year ago right now, an opportunity presented itself for my husband down in the Atlanta area. And we never saw ourselves leaving Montana. We have a thriving business there. That said, we don't know what we don't know. And our youngest was a senior in high school. So we explored the possibility because we could. At the end of the day, that opportunity wasn't what was in his, path. But we fell in love with the community as we were searching for areas, that we might choose to live if he were to take the opportunity. And I remember sitting in my office in Montana talking with him and getting clear that the opportunity wasn't the right path, but we both were a little disappointed at the idea of not making the move, which was kind of mind-blowing to both of us. And so we looked at each other and we went, oh my gosh, we're supposed to do this. This all presented itself not for the opportunity, but we're supposed to be there. And we both agreed that we were supposed to be there because of my vision and my heart. And I know that this is where Thrive Ranch is supposed to make the impact that I've believed in my heart as it's evolved, it's supposed to make. And so really with not a plan as far as what our business was going to look like. In fact, he's still bouncing back and forth between here and Montana, trying to get things dialed in with our team there, and we're figuring it out. So we really moved here based on a very strong faith intuition that this is where we were guided. And so we're here and it's unfolding, and every day with every interaction I have, I wholeheartedly know it was the right decision. And but yeah, it's all unfolding.
Oh, that's so good. Do you speak to groups?
I will speak to groups and I have spoken to groups, and I would be honored to have that opportunity. Is it something that I consider a part of my repertoire? No, but I'm, again, always open to opportunities, and I have a heart I want to share. So I would be honored to do such a thing.
Well, I got two opportunities for you. So we have a live event that comes up on the 18th of this month, and
Okay.
it's either streamed from your location or you can speak at our location. So either way, we're doing both opportunities because we want to bring in new impactful stories that because we're about be bold, make an impact, and have fun. And I'm thinking like you're bold, you're making an impact, and you're having fun. So I mean, you follow right of what we're talking about. So when we bring people, we want people to share that kind of story and that. And then
Sure.
my that's the one. Now my Rotary Club, which is the best in Georgia, and
Okay.
we support. I think it's like 35 or 36 nonprofits and it always has to be somebody in the club that will head it up. You know, some people say, "We'll donate some money." No, we don't want your money. We want you. You drive it
Got
because ownership. But we're just changing over into our new program director, and I happen to know her very well. You would make
it.
for an absolute wonderful speaker to our club.
Well, I would be honored to have both of those opportunities. So let's visit more about that.
Okay, that sounds good. See if I bring it up on the air, then
Yeah,
I
a
put
quick
you on the spot, you
no.
know?
No,
I can say, "Hey,
truly,
we
I
talked about it on the podcast. Don't you remember?"
yeah,
No,
yes, I
that is good.
committed in front of others, right? So
Yes, that is so good. Xana, I want to thank you because I know you have other things to do. I geek out on interesting, impactful stories. I mean, it's just and to dream. I mean, to dream big and dream big. So, what would you want as we settle down? What would you want our viewers to take home from our time on this podcast? What would be the one thing?
the one thing I would love for the viewers to take home is just to dream a dream, like really dream a dream, right? Let yourself dream, because I think some of us never even maybe really did, but we sure do shut that down the older we get, which you already touched on. And so I would love for you guys to just take a minute to consider, if nothing was impossible, what is your dream and what would you want to make reality? And I would encourage you to take some baby step towards making that a reality, because I'm the living example of how crazy your dreams can be and you can make them reality.
Man, that is so good. I've done about 350 podcasts, and I not to just tell you this, just to tell you this. I hear everybody's answer, and that is the best one I have heard. So
Well,
I want
thank you.
I love the fact that you're talking about what you just shared with our viewers. So if you're listening to this, share this with people that you would want to know about Thrive Ranch, know about what Xana is doing in Brooks, Georgia, and the impact she's making out there. Share it with your friends, share it with companies that can embrace that dream, that dream mindset that we all
Yes.
need. We all need that because I heard one stat now that because I lived in a senior facility, the average age was 80. It was
Oh,
kind of
God.
weird. So I didn't know it when I moved in because it was 55 and older, but I got a chance to know a lot of the seniors and I got a chance to talk with them. And it's the average person when they retire at 65 only live 2 years, and one of the reasons is they lose their purpose. They lose that purpose in life, that dreaming. And I would see it, the ones that were really having a fun time, you would hardly see them because they're all serving, they're out doing things. There's one guy, he's 92. I mean, he's serving at Must Ministry. He's doing all kinds of stuff, busy. I'm talking to his friend and we go, "Hey, how's Tom doing?" Oh man, he's always on the move. I mean, 92 and he
Yep.
just going, going. And then you have some that just they lose that dreaming and they complain about little tiny things. And does it really matter if there wasn't enough bacon on the breakfast bar? But we
100%.
just focus on the wrong things and we get caught up in those little things that don't really matter much at all. So thank you, Zanna. I want to thank you for being on the show and taking your time away from the animals because it was a pleasure to have you on the show.
Well, it
Thank
was
you.
such a pleasure to share, and I look forward to being in touch on a regular basis.
Awesome. Thank you much.
Thank you.